Hi, everyone. Week 2 of the Edgar Allan Poe readathon, read-along, whatever you want to say,
Right.
however you want to say it. I feel like we've read so much, but it's only like here in the book.
Right. It is like literally the way that I'm like, these short stories are a lot longer than I think they are, because we're halfway through where we're supposed to be in the book, and it's like loop loop loop.
Yeah, I think some of the short stories might be like multiple chapters. I think, like at least 10 chapters, I think.
Yeah,
But I think it'll still be good. It'll still be okay.
I do too. I do too. I like this week that there were not long poems this week, and for the most part, I felt like I could follow pretty much everything. So I
Yeah.
was like, yes, this doesn't feel as like overwhelming as that one last poem last week.
I know. That's why last week I was just like, I'm glad that we got the longest poem out of the way the first week. Like, just get it done.
That part for sure. For sure.
Oh, we have Vina here. Hi, Vina.
Hi Lena. I hope you had a great day today.
Alrighty. So, another 16 poems down, 32 in total. That's kind of amazing. And have I been putting the individual poems in for my Storygraph challenge? Yes, I have. And
So I think what I'm gonna do is I think I'll like count all the poems as like one book,
uh-huh.
and then like each week of short stories as like, because there's so many different like versions of these 4 short stories of Edgar Allan Poe, or these 6, or these da, 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 da.
Right.
So like
Yeah.
one of those, because I no lie, my head was hurting, and so I was on Scribd and had to go through like 6 different audio books to hear even the majority of the poems we had this week.
Yep. I did get one off of Chirp. Hi Pat, how are you? I have your comment up. I didn't forget to say hi to you. Hi.
Hey,
And then
Pat. I hope
also
you had a great day too. And you too, Alicia. I
uh,
totally didn't forget to respond to your message. I started and I was looking for a picture and I didn't find it, and I never went back to it. Sorry.
but okay, so I got the one off of Chirp. There were 2 on Chirp that you could get. One was the collection. There wasn't the complete collection, I should say. There was only like bits and pieces. So I went on Libro FM and got the complete collection. But then I go into the table of contents and it doesn't list them by name. It literally just says chapter 1,
Chapter.
chapter 2. And I'm like, this is not helpful.
Yeah. So I turned on the audiobook so I could close my eyes. Did I know? Because I had to press next and then look at the list of what was supposed to be read and see if the name was what I heard.
So that's what I was marking in our little table of contents here. I was literally going through that audiobook and be like, okay, so I like all these numbers by everything. That's just the chapter in the audiobook because it was not helpful when you
Wow. First of all, that is a lot of work, and I'm proud of you, and it could never be me.
Well, I started so late last night. I was like, oh, I have this audiobook. It's gonna be fine. Like I can start late. It'll be fine. And then I noticed that they weren't listed. I'm just like, well, that just put a wrench in everything. So I'm just like, oh. But yeah, I'm slowly, getting through and putting the numbers where everything's supposed to be. And yeah, so oh no, Cachet's gone. Oh, here she is.
I warned her this was going to happen.
I looked up and you were gone. I'm like,
Like, it happened so fast. I was like, wait, what just happened?
oh goodness. But yeah, this internet's not gonna keep us down. It's not gonna keep us down.
At all.
We're gonna keep pushing on. Okay, so everybody in the comments, if you have read this week 16, did you have a favorite poem from the 16 poems that we read this week? Type away. If you didn't read them, don't you worry about it, because we're gonna talk about our favorites as soon as I look at my notes.
I think my favorite one was The Sleeper, because it was not at all what I thought it was going to be. And it was one that was kind of like, oh, his little creep factor is back.
Right?
So I really liked The Sleeper because I was like, Yo, is she dead? Okay, she did. She did. That's definitely a casket that she's in. Okay. So I really like that. And then the Valley of Unrest too felt like it felt like it was like love death. Like that's what this week's poems felt like.
Yeah,
Love death. I
exactly.
also oh, I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just agreeing with you.
I also like the river. I thought the river was really good. And the second fairyland I liked a lot. I will say that what I have come to realize is he is just as great with imagery, with poetry, as he is with his short stories. Because I literally felt like I could see everything about this fairyland as I was reading it, like so clearly. And he is surprising the heck out of me. Like for real, surprising the heck out of me.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Pat says Nicole is so dedicated to what she does. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Very much.
Alicia also liked the river. Love it. Yes. I like how we have, like, I think last week we had the same favorite, and then this week we have the same favorites as well. I think it's just because we like the spooky. Like, we're reading Edgar Allan Poe, we just like the spooky, you know? And so I love that he's able to make you think, like, okay, in the sleeper, it starts off like he's talking about the woman he loves, right? He's like, oh, this is beautiful. He's all talking about love again. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, she's dead. Oh.
Like, oh, okay. When I swear the worms line, I like because I was listening to it. I was like, wait, rewind that. Go back. I missed something.
Yes. Bree, that's okay. Thank you so much for coming.
Hey, Ree.
That is okay. But yeah, so I like the spookiness. I really, really do. I also like that we got a little bit more of like the romance and the love and all that stuff. I really liked that. That's why I liked To the River so much, is because it's really a love poem. Like he's really speaking and like comparing the beauty that he sees in nature and of the water to the woman that he loves. So I just thought that was just so beautiful as well. Also, I really like reading these poems and then researching about them, because then you find out so much more about them, and not just because like they do the analysis, but also kind of like people who have dedicated their life to finding out more stuff about Edgar Allan Poe, and they just do a little of the tidbits and stuff, which I really like. There was one that I really loved, and that was
Tell us. I'm like, I didn't do all this. Let me listen.
it was, let's see here. I think it was, where did it go? I know I have it in here somewhere. Okay, so from an album. Oh, I'm gonna wait till she comes back. Oh, here she comes. Oh, here she comes. Gotcha.
Sorry.
That's okay. I was gonna start talking, and I was just like, wait, nope, I'm gonna.
And I was like, please hope she saw me before she started talking, because I really want to hear this.
Yeah. So I really liked the poem From an Album, and it's acrostic poem, which means the first letter of every line spells a name or spells a word, and it spells out Elizabeth. If you go back and you look at that poem from the album, it actually, the first letter of each line spells the name Elizabeth. And I really liked that. It was actually, and I learned a lot. I spent a lot of time researching this one, but it was actually, he wrote this poem as kind of like a counter poem to the poem Warning by Leticia Elizabeth Landon, who wrote a poem about, the warning is about not falling in love, not falling in love and making a fool of yourself. And he just kind of turned that on its head and be like, love is pure. You like, really, if people don't love, we're nothing. We're not even living if we don't love. And so and I liked this one a lot too, because it had the mythology in it. What's his name? I think it's Endymions. Endymions and Selene's story. Selene was the goddess of the moon, which he refers to her in the poem Luna. And so in the story, he actually tries to cure himself of love and he ends up dying. So he was like, if you're trying to cure yourself of love or not live with love, then you might as well just be dead. So it was pretty cool. Like this poem was just like, I see you like writing this poem about not falling in love, but I'm gonna say my piece here. So I really liked that. It was pretty awesome.
So because you said that about from the album, right?
Yeah.
Then Elizabeth is also the same type of poem because it spells out Elizabeth Rebecca.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And I was like, oh wait, wow. So now I'm like, do I need to go back to all his poems and see like what all this is? Also, I found it interesting that Israfel is based off of something from the Quran.
Yes.
Like, you wouldn't think that he would pull something from there. So I just thought that was really, really interesting.
Yeah, I liked that our editor here of our book, they put that little tidbit for Israel, like the angel whose heartstrings are a lute has the sweetest voice of all of God's creatures, and that is from the Quran. And I just thought that one was pretty cool too. That one was a bit long, but I didn't mind it. And it kind of gives like, yeah, you have these angels and you have God being like this, otherworldly being and perfection and majesty and all that stuff. And then it just kind of compares that to a normal human being. Like there's just this simplicity of being human that's just beautiful. And I really enjoyed that one too, which there is another one. I'm looking back on the poem Elizabeth because you said that also spells Elizabeth Rebecca. And I'm just like, I'm exactly like you. I kind of want to go back and see if there's any hidden messages.
Because I also think it's interesting that like in our book, it'll tell us like, this is a sonnet or this is this, but it didn't tell us that these were those type of poems. So now I'm like, I wonder how many of them there are.
I see the poems are short via Libby. Okay, yeah, they are. They're typically like the longest one was like probably 4 or 5 pages. But yeah, they're typically like just one page. There's sometimes multiple poems on one page. Where are y'all finding these poems, or would I need the book? No, because we have that graphic that breaks down each week's poem. So you can just take those. And actually a lot of these are free online because they're in the public domain. Because
yeah, I'm gonna say you can literally like you could Google most of them because they're free for everybody. So yeah, no, it should be pretty easy to find. That's what made us make the graphic, like in case people couldn't get the book and whatnot.
Yeah, because
I had a book, but it was like not in the same order as ours.
Yeah, so you could just take the graphic and just look at what poems we have to read for the next week, and literally just be like, blah 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 by Edgar Allan Poe, and they will be free online for you to read. And sometimes a lot of different YouTubers, they like, you can, if you want like the audio, they're like reading the poem on their channel, so you can go on there and if you want to listen to them. But yeah, a lot of them are free, so you can just search them.
I kind of want to do that now because it is in the public domain. So now I'm like, let me pick my favorite ones and do a little voiceover thing.
Yeah,
see what can happen.
That would be cool. You should absolutely do that. I would love it. Hi, Cool Gamer. The Philadelphia Public Library has a bunch of Edgar Allan Poe's original readings in their archives. Awesome. Found them great. Awesome. Yeah, that's what I also love. Like, I didn't realize, which I should have realized, that they were a part of the public domain just because they are so old that, copyright has been, timed up. So yeah, a lot of these you can just search and so love it. But yeah, okay. So she'll come back. It's fine. We'll just wait. We'll wait for her. Oh, there she is.
I will have a solution to this by next week.
I'm sorry, what?
I said I will have a solution to this by next week.
You're fine. I know sometimes, like, my internet is not the best, even though I feel like I pay a lot for internet for it not to be the best. So, but my husband did just try to call me, so I'm just gonna shoot off a text message to him really quick.
No worries. I mean, this week will probably be even shorter than last week because the poems are a lot shorter anyway. So
Yeah. Oh, okay, let's get back to comments. What are y'all's faves? Yeah. We have decided that To the River has been our favorite for this week. To the River, and then I also really liked from an album. And I'm sorry, which one did you say?
The Sleeper.
The Sleeper. Yes, yes. I like how this one, I feel like this week was a little bit even, being love poems and also kind of morbid, creepy poems, which I think as we're getting more into his work, as we said last week, we'll probably see that decline. I did, which one was it? I did see, one was pretty kind of sad just because he was spiraling in his depression. Let me see. I'm trying to find it if I can read my own handwriting. Okay, here we go. So, also another thing that was really cool about the two different fairylands. One had a hyphen and then one didn't have a hyphen. So, actually, the one with the hyphen was the original version, and he had sent it off to be, I don't think published, but maybe critiqued. There's this critic who he took that poem from Edgar Allan Poe and he burned it, saying it was terrible. And so that's what caused Edgar Allan Poe to revise it to Fairyland without the hyphen. It's kind of like shorter and a little bit more condensed and kind of almost didn't make as much sense as the one with the hyphen in it. But it was because like this critic like burned his original manuscript. So he's like, okay, I'll try again. But
I've had somebody like mark up a manuscript like a bunch of red, but if I had somebody burn it, do you know how mad I'd be? I'd be so mad.
So mad. So this one, the Fairyland with the hyphen, the original version, was written in 1829. And that was written during the time he had a gambling and a drinking problem. So he was spiraling and he was attending the military academy. So he was kind of going toward that darker place for sure that we kind of know about Edgar Allan Poe. And just reading the Fairyland, it's written about like this fantasy where you want to escape your real life to a fantasy land because your real life kind of sucks at the moment. And that's really where he was at emotionally. And for someone to take like I feel like he poured his heart into this because he was so sad. And for someone to try to burn it, I don't know how I would cope. Oh, she's gonna come back. I just read The River. Yes, I love it. I love it. We were saying last week how we really didn't expect so many love stories from Edgar Allan Poe. Yeah. Bree just read The River right now, so she was saying
it is so beautiful. Like it is really beautiful and it's short, so like can't go wrong.
We are talking about Fairyland with a hyphen in the middle, so fairy hyphen land. Yeah, critic burned it. Oh, and I did say because I looked it up, so I saved the excuse me, sorry, tickle. Okay, so here we go. Let me see what it actually says here, like what he was saying. Okay. Okay, the following is what this critic, N.P. Willis, had to say about this version of the poem, Fairyland with the hyphen in the middle. It is quite exciting to lean over eagerly as the flame eats in upon the letters and make out the imperfect sentences and trace the faint strokes in the tinder as it trembles in the ascending air of the chimney. There, for instance, goes a gilded edge sheet, which we remember was covered with some sickly rhymes on fairyland. Now it flashes, meaning the flame, up in a broad blaze. Now it reaches a marked verse. Let us see the fire devours as we read. They use that mood no more for the same end as before, which I think extravagant. Burn on, good fire. He literally said, burn on, good.
So here's my thing. Not you wrote a whole poem about how much you hated my poem and you burned it. I'm mad. I'm mad.
I know. How mean is that? He poured
It's
his
the
heart
audacity for me.
He poured his
Like,
heart and soul into this in a time where he was so depressed and like wanting to escape to a fairyland because he was so sad. And you burn it and write a poem, your own poem.
and then you send it to the man. There's so much. Like, there was so much you had to do to be evil about that to me.
He really did a lot to reciprocate and be like, you know what? I had to read this with my eyeballs. You're going to read this with your eyeballs. Like, wow.
Can you imagine if like readers actually did that?
My gosh. Like you said, the audacity. I was like, that is so harsh. Like, you could have just said you didn't like it.
Cool, that ain't it. That ain't what you thought it was. Like, crazy.
But he's literally writing this poem about he's watching it burn and he loves it. He's like, oh yeah, it's actually on fire. It's better than it's ever been. Like, wow.
What's his name? Because I'm gonna tweet about him. I want to have the audacity as Mr.
I'm gonna I'll send you the link to this little article that I read, but his name is N.P. Willis, like Bruce Willis. Isn't that messed up? Alicia said the creepiest thing they have is a stuffed crow that he had as a pet. Oh, I could see that though. I could really see that.
Low key, I wouldn't be surprised if he had a stuffed black cat.
I wouldn't either. Alrighty. And we do have one more question. If you've been reading the last 32 poems, have your preconceived notions regarding Edgar Allan Poe changed at all from reading his lesser known work? And I'm just going to make sure that all of my dogs are here with me because I guess a neighbor called Joe and is wondering where our dogs are at. So,
okay. I'll answer that while you go to that. Okay. So for me, yes, preconceived notions have definitely changed, especially because like I'd only read like 2 poems, like, and I want to say that's Annabelle Lee and The Raven up until this. And so one, it's changed preconceived notions about like thinking that he was all like dark and dreary as a writer, like The Raven. But as far as thinking him a great classical writer, reading this has only cemented that preconceived notion. Like the more I read, the more I'm like, there's a reason I effed with this dude in high school. Like there's a reason, because like his imagery and use of language, I really, really like. Like I am really enjoying these poems a lot more than I thought that I would. Like I'm not gonna lie, I was low-key kind of dreading the poetry part and like excited to get to the stories. But I feel like I like these a lot more than I thought that I would.
Yeah.
And my dog's eating a bone. You could probably hear that now.
My start like, oh, you're looking for me? Yes. I'm gonna post the same link that I just sent Cachet for that man who was burning Edgar Allan Poe's work, just for the sick pleasure of it. But yeah, if you wanted to read that little stuff yourself, you absolutely can do that. But yes, I was definitely, I had read the Telltale Heart, The Raven, Annabelle Lee, and one other one. Oh, I can't remember. Oh no. But yeah,
I know
I'm
that's a
sorry.
pretty popular one. Tamerlane, I know that's a pretty popular one that people like read in
No,
school.
we didn't read any of his poetry. We just read like the short stories. But so yeah, reading his poetry now, I'm just like, I'm glad that I'm kind of reading it for the first time, just because in high school I didn't really enjoy classical work all the time. Like obviously it was required reading in high school, like I didn't want anything to do with it. So I'm glad I'm reading it now for the first time and just really appreciating, like, especially because he's not all doom and gloom. I mean, yeah, he is. A lot of the stuff he has written is doom and gloom, but we were just saying last week how we're so surprised that there's more love and beauty, and just just the way that he could paint the picture is amazing. Yes. Yes. Okay, Alicia has a little comment. I've never read any of his poems. I've only ever read some of his short stories in college that you had to. Absolutely. So I just thought of him as a very depressed person only writing about death. Yep. It's interesting to see the other side for sure. Yes, I agree. I agree. Yes. And I really love that we get to see this other side of him for sure. Because if we weren't doing this, I would just have that in my head that he's a depressed guy that just writes about death, the macabre, that kind of stuff. So I like that. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, and I would have only went back to read short stories. Like I never would have ever went to read the poetry like outside of doing this. So I never would have even known. Like I would have kept having that preconceived notion, even still reading his stuff. So I like that we're doing this for sure.
Yeah, and it's just like the way that he describes things. I mean, he can describe the creepiness where you get that chill on the back of your neck when you're reading some of his more, sinister or creepy, like The Sleeper, where you're just like, oh, and their poem about love. Yes, he's describing the woman he loves. He loves her so much he can't live without her, and then you're like, oh, she's dead. And what you were saying about that one line about the worms, yes, I'm gonna get that, because that is seriously so true. Here we go. I underlined it even because I was like, wow. It says, my love, she sleeps. Oh, may her sleep, as it is lasting, be so deep. Soft may the worms about her creep. I'm like, oh, we're talking about the worms. Wow. Yeah, that was just like, and I was listening to the audiobook as I was reading along. So as soon as I heard that, you just feel it. You feel it on the back of your neck. You do. Anything creepy, right? So I love how it was kind of like he did a change up. He switched it up on you. And I like that we could still be surprised, while reading, just in the middle of a poem. I really loved it. It was great.
I was like, that escalated hella quickly. What did I miss? And literally didn't even keep going. I started it over on the audiobook.
The one line that was kind of like, I was like, oh, this is like, something's wrong here. The one line that I read where the tone of the poem definitely shifted. It was in the third stanza. And it says, it's the third line, heaven have her in its sacred keep. And I'm like, tone is shifting. I'm like, is she dead? Is she dead? And then that one part that I just read, my love, she sleeps, may her sleep, as long as it's lasting, so be deep. Soft may the worms about her creep. I'm like, yeah, she's dead. She's dead. Yeah. And it's about how he loves her so much, he cannot move on. He can't. It's and it's very sad. Very sad. But yeah, those are our two questions. Keshe, did you have any questions just in your head, off the top of your head?
No, not really. Like, those are two questions that I would have had to. No, I feel like I said, I thought this was going to be a shorter one this week because the poems
Yeah.
were just a lot shorter in general and a lot easier to process than the other
Yes.
ones for sure.
Mm-hmm. I'm just gonna go through my notes really quick just to see if I have any tidbits.
No worries. You done educated me enough. I feel like, ooh, I done got some lessons and history and anecdotes. I'm loving it. While my internet is acting right, I'll give y'all the blanket update.
Oh, yes. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love
Yeah.
it.
Oh my gosh. It's getting so big. Titan, get off this dadgum chair.
Alicia said my copy of American Gods came in, so I'll be starting that soon.
Awesome. Yes. It's been a wild ride. All I'll say is Neil Gaiman be writing some interesting stuff. And I'll just let y'all read on and
She'll be back. She'll be back. It's fine.
all I would say is Neil Gaiman writes interesting stuff. And I'll let y'all figure it out as you read.
I think that's about it. Yep, I think that's it.
My bad, y'all. I'm gonna get this internet right by next week for sure.
You're fine. I was just literally saying, like, I talked about all my interesting stuff that I learned. So, and I did. Oh, I'm gonna add. I made a playlist for the Edgar Allan Poe read along, and I also added that link or the YouTube video that Emma Ray shared with us last week. So I added that to the playlist as well. So if you haven't watched that, you definitely can. And also this link, if you want to go ahead and The Critic Who Burned Fairyland. I love that. If you wanted to read and enjoy that, I will definitely add that to the description box as well. But yeah, so 30 minutes full of talking about Edgar Allan Poe. I love it so much. And does anybody else have any questions, comments, concerns?
Get them out, people. Let us know.
Let us know. I'll give you a couple minutes to type away if you do, because if not, we're going to wrap it up.
Yeah, I just feel like these will go.
For sure. Yeah. For sure. I think we don't have any comments, questions, or concerns. Everybody follow Cache. Her channel and social media links are in the description box. Next week, we are going to be on her channel.
I'll get that up today.
I know. I was just like, I better get this up. It was like yesterday. I was like, I should probably schedule this.
Yeah, let me just be on top of stuff like a normal human being. I'm gonna try.
Schedule that. Yeah. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next week for some more. Yes, Alicia, I will see you tomorrow. We have book club tomorrow. Yes, I remember that. Yeah. We are, for our book club tomorrow, we're talking about Pleading the Fish, which is the final book in a beloved cozy mystery series, which I'm very sad is ending, but it kind of ended in the perfect way. So like, I love the ending, but also hate it because it's ended.
Oh, I will definitely be there in the.
Oh, she'll be back. She'll be back. I do. That epilogue's gonna make you cry.
All I said was I'll definitely be in the chat listening.
I love you. Yes. Thanks. Both very interesting. Yes. I mean, I'm really loving that we're doing this. So I can't wait to learn more. Thank you, Pat. Heart. Everybody, have a wonderful night. Bye.
Bye.